And first up, we have the wonderful Lisa Bösch to tell us a bit about her story. And her talk is going to be about the people side of freelancing and essentially how she learned about the importance of building relationships. Lisa, I would like to invite you to share your screen and get us started.
Thank you very much, Tristan, for the introduction. Seems like I just need to get my rights here. Okay, let me start with that. Okay, you should be able to see my slides now, correct?
Yep, we're good.
Perfect. So thanks again for the introduction, Tristan. And thank you everybody for being here. I'm super excited to see you all, and I'm happy that you could make it to this talk. So I would like to start off by actually sharing a personal experience with you. There was a time that I had just signed a new contract with a client, and I had worked with him before, and I had this amazing relationship with the team. It was a great product, and we were working hard to achieve our milestones. Now, after the first month into the project, I checked my bank account and realized that there was no payment. So I just continued working. I put in even more hours and tried to meet the deadlines we had. The second month passed and still there was no payment. So I called up the founder and asked him, when can I expect to be paid? And the response I got from him was, as soon as you reduce your invoices by half. Now, I was completely shocked and I tried to understand, but all he gave me was, these invoices are unreasonable, and this obviously let me worry about my income. But actually, worse than that, it made me feel like I had done a bad job, even though I asked several times about the quality of my work, and the founder never provided any reason why my 2 months of work are suddenly just worth half. So this completely destroyed my trust in our relationship. And it might have been easy to think, okay, that client is just really irrational. Seems like he was deliberately destroying the relationship to save money. But I think if I would have done that, I would have been missing a point. And actually also a great opportunity, because I believe there is something to learn about yourself in every struggle, even if it is not your fault. Because if you like it or not, the success of your career, whether you're self-employed or an employee, depends heavily on your relationship with others. None of us can do it alone or can accomplish much by ourselves. So there is the client that puts her faith in you. There is the former colleague that refers you to a project, or there's the friend that introduces you to a decision maker. And I think in the end, it is our ability to actually form relationships and create trust that defines the essence of our success. Now, the question remains, how can you really become more resilient in order to handle the difficult people? How can you become increasingly better at relationships? And one person that might actually be able to help with that is a relationship expert. Or you could say a dating coach who knows a lot about messy relationships. And his name is Matthew Hussey. And what he says is that you need basically 2 qualities in order to succeed with people. The first one being confidence. So this includes knowing what you're worth and knowing what you want. But then there's a second part to it, which is competence, which means you really need to know how you can communicate these things to the other person. Now let's start with confidence. Where do you actually get that from? And to me, there were clearly 2 sources. So the first thing being sticking to my own values. I was dragged into these unpleasant calls, and the tone at the other end of the line was getting rough. So I took a deep breath, I accepted the game I was in, and I kept reminding myself that when they go low, we always go high. So this really helped me to stay cool in the situation. and getting out of this also without being embarrassed about my own behavior. And the second thing was that I have a tribe of some sort. There are people who I know they have my back. And thanks to my curiosity, maybe, that I have with others, is that I met really several wonderful freelancers who were willing to share their stories with me. And the candid conversations we had created that trust. So now I could share my struggle with them. And together we could come up with ideas how to actually resolve this situation. Now, in terms of confidence, I would say you all probably as freelancers, you've already done a great job because you took a leap of faith when starting your self-employment. But to some extent, it doesn't really stop there, because there's still a deliberate choice of whether you consider this to be kind of a hidden job, the comfort zone that you're still in, and you simply try to increase how many euros you can make per hour. The other choice that you have that you could do instead would be to thrive, to develop competence. Now, competence meaning that you learn continuously, but you also risk to fail very often. So if you opt for the latter, then you need to start by failing, because it is simply the fastest way to learn and gain competence in something. And I practice that regularly to overcome this slightly uncomfortable feeling when you don't know what you're actually doing and you look like a fool trying. So as you might be able to tell from the slides by now, I love dogs, but I have no clue about how to train them and make them behave. So with no experience, I just applied as a dog sitter. And one of the dogs was, well, let's say he never really behaved well. So he used to jump to greet people and bark at other dogs. And every time I come back from the walk, I watch a YouTube lesson about how to change that behavior. And the next time I come back, I try to implement these methods with him. And I do fail very often, but I also succeed sometimes, and I definitely continue learning. So in my experience with the client, there was obviously something else to it, because I was risking to lose a lot of money. And I consider myself to be really bad at negotiating. So I took a masterclass with Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator. And one of the most important things that he taught me was that good negotiators actually ask the right questions, and they also understand what is important to the other party. So I went from the classroom straight to practice. I wrote down the methods that I thought that might work, and I called the founder and started negotiating. And it was so scary, but at the same time, it felt good because it was a little bit like a small revenge. I just thought to myself, without knowing, this founder actually became my unpaid sparring partner in practicing my newly acquired negotiation skills. And in the end, I finally got paid. So to wrap this up, it seems to me like there's only few people that actually want to go back to being an employee. And maybe it is because people are on a quest to achieve a fulfilling, successful career. And becoming self-employed was just kind of the first step out of your comfort zone. And I believe really the more you learn about having great relationships, the more successful you will be. And I wish you all the best on that journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Yeah, virtual claps. You can have a good reaction and throw some.
That's so nice.
It's so nice how the screens all pop up. If you have questions for Lisa, just type in the chat, and I'm sure she's more than happy to answer them. But yeah, thank you so much, Lisa.
Sure.